I have a great question for y'all, and I want to hear everybody's answers and explanations. What do y'all think Travis Hunter would be once he goes to the NFL? Do you think he'll be a full time cornerback? Do you think he'll be a full time receiver, or do you feel like it's going to be a mixture of both? Because my personal take on that is like, I think his ball skills are too good not have him out there on offense. I think he's a real talented player and all around. I mean, playmaking ability. You put the ball in his hands, and like his shittiness like reminds me of like I miss you. I mean, again, we can go on modern term now. This NCAA, this nigga look like a human joystick out here. Like he juke niggas like he juke niggas out like me and Keith where we used to go play football at Glover and the nigga catch the ball and like real ass juke. Like
real juke.
But I think his ball skills, I mean his hands, I mean
he's a better receiver than he is a DB, so I think he'll be playing receiver. And
but my thing is like I don't want to say that because I think he is a good DB. I think it just his only fault will probably be when he play against those bigger receivers that get physical with him, so he can't really just get like he can't press up at the line. He can't. I mean, I think that'll be a case for him just in general though. Like I think would y'all think he?
So I read a CBS article. I forgot who wrote it. I hate that. But it was talking about this exact thing. There are it's such an influx of receivers coming in this day and age. Like, man, you got the Puka Nakuas of the world. You got the it's countless names. Yeah, it's countless names where you going in the later rounds because college football produces 30 something receivers a year that could be productive now. So I think, and it's also based on what team actually draft him. You know what I mean? But I do think he's going to be a full-time cornerback. I do feel like he's going to play full-time DB just because like there's an influx of receivers coming in. It's not a lot of teams with two good corners, if you know what I mean. Like each team usually has a top guy or a guy that they claim is like CB1, you know. But it's not a lot of teams that you could say that has two really good corners, and each team has two really good receivers. You know what I mean? So I think he'll do a lot of DB work. He'll take most of the snaps from DB, but I do think whatever team drafts him will have packages in there because, like you said,
it's a good problem. It's a good problem to have, though. If I'm a team drafting him, it's a great problem to have. Like, I mean, what do you want to do? Depending on what we have at the time, I'm asking him, like, what do you want to do? This is what we're thinking. And then just go from there. I mean, I would love to have that problem if I'm an NFL GM or coach.
I think they'll have packages for him. I don't think he'll play nearly as many snaps in the league.
You think he'll be like a Swiss, like a kind of a gadget guy on offense?
Yeah, like how Dion was for the Cowboys. Like I think he'll come in maybe situationally, but I think they want to value him. And you know, the hits in the NFL, like they add up to taking defensive and offensive hits, and he's not that big of a frame guy. You know what I mean? So I think he'll have a lot of DB. I just don't think he'll play a lot of receiver, honestly. I think they'll have packages. That's about it.
Yeah.
I think, and it sounds like a cop-out, but I think it really does depend on the preference of the team that drafts him. Like, obviously, you in the draft, you draft whoever you need, but at that point in time, it's like, okay, well, do we see you as a better fit for us because we're at a low end of receivers or a low end of corners? Like, do we feel like your services are going to immediately help us on this side of the ball or that side of the ball? To your point, though, Keith, it's like, okay, there is an influx of receivers, not only from the draft, but just in circulation of the NFL. You could literally snatch a guy that's not getting a lot of reps on one team. He'll fuck around and be, at worst case, your number 2 receiver on your own squad. And you could get that in the middle of the season. You get that in free agency.
Like Michi for the Texans.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. He is buried in the depth chart, and people forget that he was the number 1 target for Bryce Young in Alabama. Like, he is like that. And I think that he still has some capability to have a quality career on another team. If it happens to be on the Texans in the future, then we'll see. But the lack of depth in terms of quality corners in the NFL is staggering. You can never have too many good receivers. You can never have too many good corners on the squad. But at the same time, it's like you don't see too many teams with 2 prime shutdown players on the outside on the perimeter. It would be an amazing thing for them to have. If just any team in general, if they could find one of those 2 guys, when now you got 2 of those guys, boom, one east side, west side, it is what it is. But if you need just one, then obviously you're going to probably prioritize that DB position role for Travis Hunter because You got to stop those inflows of quality receivers, quality slots, quality X's, quality Y's, all that shit. You need that.
Yeah, I like you say that as far as the team aspect too, because who's going to be bad this year? So say like somebody like New England. I think if it was somebody like New England were to draft him with their first round pick, I think just because they don't have receivers, like I think he would play a lot of snaps at receiver. But if it was a team like say Arizona wasn't that good again this year and they go get him, I don't think he would play a lot of receiver just because they have some guys that can go with that position. You know what I mean? Or like Minnesota. If Minnesota was bad this year, they pick him up in the first round. I think he would play very minimum receiver just because they're stacked at that position and they need more DBs. So it is team fit, you know?
Yeah, because I mean, like you mentioned New England, it's not just because of their lack of talent or the receiver core. It's like they got Christian Gonzalez. Like he was on pace to be one of the top rookies of his rookie season. So it's like they don't necessarily need a shutdown corner. They would love to have him for that price. Rookie deal, don't got to pay him for a number of years, but they already got one guy. As long as they find someone that's serviceable. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If they find someone that's serviceable on the other end, then all bets are off. They're probably looking at their hands as like, we're playing with house money at that point. Let's go ahead and put them on the offensive side of the ball, and let's rack up these points before we focus on stopping these other guys. Like for you, Travis Hunter.
Yeah, I mean his stuff is like I think his receiving ability, just being able to work in a phone booth. I mean, physicality, that that might alter our perspective of what we think of him as a receiver. But as far as him throwing 50-50 ball in this shoe, it's like throwing a 80-20. Like the percentages of him catching that shit is like it looked like he on a trampoline at certain times.
Bro, that catch he had yesterday and the fade in the end zone, bro, where the dude was draped all over. He caught that, fam. That was wild.
That's like, extreme talent. That's next level talent for sure.
That was wild.
I think Travis Hunter, like Keith said, I think it'll probably be more of that in the league. I think having him on offense full time, you kind of taking, you kind of fucking with his true ability or what you can really have him doing on the opposite side. I think him being a shutdown corner, he'll grow more into that than like that receiver. I mean, them nicks and knacks from playing receiver. I mean, Lord have mercy. I mean, the league is no punk when it comes to being anybody that's willing to go get that ball with backers like Roquan Smith. And I mean, they should. As a former Texas fan, I would not want to see Petrie coming at me 90, 100 miles per hour trying to take my head off, catching a slant. Like, so I think what Keith said was valid. I think him having certain packages. I mean, like, we got a guy in the league, his name Marcus Jones. Y'all probably don't know him. He was a DB out of U of H. He played for the Patriots probably about a year or two ago. He had a couple offensive touchdowns, and he was their nickel. I believe they're nickel on New England a year ago. So, I mean, it's possible. It's for sure possible.